It's one of our favorite things to say in sports. The coach did not have them ready to go. Game 1, Dallas Mavericks get worked. We all pretty stunned by this. What's your Cowboy Packer shock level compared to this? Kawhi Leonard gone for game 1, maybe longer, as Ty Lue was quoted before the game saying we haven't come up with a schedule for him to have contact yet in our practices, and then they go out and they get crushed by the Clippers. Smoked.
I would say this is...
Cowboys was what, 9 or a 10?
In terms of the surprise?
Yep.
Cowboys that's a 10.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're one of those who says, like, 10 has to be, like, Chaminade winning or whatever, then it's a 9.5. But, man, this was bad, but I think the Cowboys one, like, you were at home, there was no excuse. And you got down 48-16 or whatever.
Yeah.
There was no excuse. This was bad, though. This is a
7.5?
It's high.
7, I was going to say. 7.
It's also different because it's in a series.
It's in a series, so like one game.
This was game 7.
Oh, it's a very Phoenix Mavericks kind of way, right?
Yep.
That was actually the last time somebody had scored as few points in a first half as the Mavericks had was Phoenix in Game 7 against Dallas.
Yeah, like the Cowboys was surprising from the score. I wasn't stunned. I mean, I was surprised at the loss, but was stunning because it's the NFL. Like, it's a one-off. You have a bad game. All of a sudden, the other team comes up and bites you. We see upsets. The way they got down, the way they were just destroyed in that game was the surprising thing to me. And I think the same thing here. Like, this was the surprising aspect is they did this to you without their best player. And they did this to you. They really made you look soft. They made the guys underneath look soft. The fact that the Mavs couldn't shoot. You have 30 points at halftime. That's embarrassing. That's embarrassing when you have 30 points at halftime. So, yeah, there was a surprise element to this. The Cowboys is worse because your season's over.
Yeah.
Which is funny because, I mean, we had talked about it on Friday. Ty Lue had said in recent weeks, like, how would you describe your team? And he said soft. And he's like, we're not tough enough. And then it's like, well, they didn't look like the soft basketball team the other day. And I mean, Jason Kidd comes out of the first thing he starts talking about is like, well, they beat us over the head with physicality. We weren't ready for it.
The only guy there was 2 guys who I could give credit to energy-wise. Derek Lively threw out, and then Kyrie when he started going off in the third quarter, going 8 for 8. Otherwise, I don't know whether it was the rust. I don't know whether it was the rest. They just didn't have life.
They didn't.
They weren't Derek Lively at all. I guess I could have just said Lively. I could have kept it with that. Here's Jason Kidd on the awful, awful first half.
Yeah, I thought we did dig ourselves a hole. Positives that we kept fighting there in the second half. We expected the Clippers to come out and be physical. We just didn't respond in that first to their physicality. And I thought, again, in the second half, we were a little bit, the team that we ended the season with the physicality. And then, again, if we're not making shots, I thought we did a great job of keeping them in that second quarter to 22 points. But we couldn't throw it in the ocean. We missed layups, free throws. We missed wide open shots. But to hold a team that's talented like that to 22 points was a positive, and that's what we talked about at halftime.
Boy, I'm sorry. After a game like that, half of your comments cannot be how great you did in certain areas. It just needs to be like, no, this was terrible. Like, sure, we'll point to positive, we'll look at it, but right now we need to just say this was an awful performance on our end, and we got to be better.
First half, fewest in playoff history with 30 points. 22% from the field. Worst in a half in the last 25 playoffs. 8 points in the paint. Ties for the fewest in a half this season. Luka first quarter, 11 points. Second quarter, 0.
We couldn't throw it in the ocean.
Now,
was it 0 assists in the first quarter too?
People are coming for Jason Kidd's head, saying, here you go. This is why we want him gone during the regular season. Here's Jason not having them prepared. People were furious that he didn't challenge the James Harden 3. I think it was Maxey who went by, and they were like, why don't you sit there and challenge that? That should not have been this. It should not have been that. So how much blame for Jason Kidd, and then compare that to Mike McCarthy and all the blame he took from Bobby. And
Rightfully so.
And a lot of others for not being prepared to come out and play and fight.
I think if you put yesterday on Jason Kidd, you're just missing the point. There are plenty of things to blame Jason Kidd for, like if they lose the series in general. But when you score 8 points in the second quarter and you can't shoot from beyond the arc, that ain't on the coach. That isn't a preparation thing. That's a you suck thing. That's all that is. It's a you stink. Sometimes sports fans just got to blame the players. And I know they don't want to blame the players because players are the ones that you're fans of.
Yeah.
And they're the ones that you want to root for. But sometimes it's on the players. If you want to blame McCarthy I think McCarthy deserves much more blame for the Cowboys' loss. The Kid did yesterday. And they lose a series, Kid's gone.
I agree.
And he should be. You know, you can't underachieve expectations when you're going to the playoffs. So if they lose a series and they fire him, I ain't going to fight with you at all. But yesterday, nah, man, when you score 30 points in the first half, that is not on the coach. That's not on any – there's no preparation that goes into scoring 30 points in the first half. And you should be able to fall into 30 points in a half without being prepared.
And I was supposed to be mad at Jason because they were a half step slow and didn't look like they were hustling as much as the Clippers. Like you're the professional athlete getting paid. No, it's hard for me to get mad at Jason Kidd over that. And so Jason Kidd down the stretch pushed all the right buttons, and then he decided in the last week, you know what? Nah, they're good. I'm not going to really coach them up whatsoever. I'm going to back off here. I'm going to hit some different buttons. And that resulted in yesterday. No.
I will say, and I agree with everything that's been said here. I don't think Jason Kidd's responsible for what happened yesterday. But I will, just from devil's advocate perspective, I will say we've felt like that at times can be a problem for certain coaches, though, right? Is that like you get to the playoffs and you start overthinking things and you start changing things and you do things a little differently. So it's not necessarily outside the realm of possibility that maybe Jason Kidd changed some things in preparation and maybe it they overthought it and they changed it. What I will say is I think back to you guys were here for the 2011 playoff run. Do you guys remember the intense heat that was on this entire organization, Rick Carlisle included, after Brandon Roy with no knees came back and they outscored him by 20 in that fourth quarter, came back, win game 4, 84-82, and it's like series tied 2-2. People are like, boy, if you choke this one away now, then everybody needs to be gone. And what they do, they rally, they win those next two games, they go sweep the Lakers, they win in 5 against Oklahoma City. So we've seen aggressive turnarounds from the Mavericks before, obviously different collection, but we've seen them turn around and look like a completely different team over the stretch of the next 3 weeks after having awful, everybody should be fired type of performances in the playoffs.
Yeah, I just don't agree that they were ill-prepared. Like, that is not, missing shots is not a preparation thing. It's not that's not a prepreration thing.
Yeah, I don't think Gafford was, like, when Gafford's getting bullied down low to me, it's not like, well, why weren't you prepared? Like, that was just like, what's... That just looks like...
Now you want to get on him for saying, yo, stop playing ISO ball. That's what it was. It was Luka, you go one-on-one, Kyrie, you go one-on-one. That's what you want to get on Jason Kidd for a lack of offensive movement and passing? Okay, fine.
And you can't win that way in the playoffs. You can't just have ISO ball the entire time and expect to win in the postseason. Especially with just two guys. And you're getting no contributions from anybody else.
Because the offense was stagnant. It wasn't fun. It was selfish. And I blame Luka for a lot of that, man. It's on you. Like, it just felt like he came out and he was like, no, today I decided when I woke up I was going to score from 3. And nothing that happens in this game is going to change or deter me from what I woke up feeling. I'm saying that's how it felt. That's how it looked.
Yeah.
Versus saying, okay, this isn't going. Let's get some guys in foul trouble. Let's go inside. Let's dominate. Let's get physical. Let's change things up. It just felt like he was set in his way, and I'm not going to get other people involved either. I'll throw an alley-oop pass here and there for a dunk. That's what I'm going to do. It kind of felt like it wasn't smart. It kind of felt like a little bit selfish. That's just what I thought. Again, it's only one game. He'll make the adjustments. I still believe they're going to win the series. They're going to win the series in 6 games, but man, I wanted an opening statement of, yo, man, we have to get, and we are going to get to the conference championship because we're going to go through OKC in round 2. And that's just a moment of weakness for the Clippers that you did not step on. Kawhi's out? Like everyone in DFW is thinking, okay, here we go.
Here we go.
This might be a sweep.
Mm-hmm.
You may have given the Clippers one game previously before the Kawhi news.
Yeah.
And by the way, props to Chris Broussard, who I kill on the show nonstop. I got to give Chris Broussard props for being ahead of this. Last week with the Kawhi injury.
Could have been lucky. Never know. You could he's saying it.
I'm going to give him credit. I'm going to give him credit.
We'll give him credit. I hear exactly what you're saying. This was a frustrating, very, very frustrating afternoon. And I don't know. I still have them to win the series. I'm glad they lost because I have them in 5. That's my betting ticket. So now they got to sweep it out.
Okay.
All right. So I get my 6-1 odds. The sweep. It probably wasn't going to happen anyway. But, I needed them to lose a game. So I'm glad they got this one out of the way. And now they can win in 5 games, and I get 6-1.
Take your odds. I'm going to be thrilled if they're able to bounce back and win 4 out of the next 5. That'd be great. This is, I can tell, like, it doesn't feel like, if anything, when we talk about preparation or whatever else, if anything else, I look at it and wonder, are the Clippers totally, like, is this totally even in terms of from the perspective of somebody like Luka? Like, is Luka still in his head about the Clippers? Like, because to me, when he went out there yesterday, it's like, I got to do it all on my own. I got to come out here. I got to, start right off. Let me find that matchup against Zubats. Let me set up for 3. Let me attack this. Let me do this and that. Like, that is the one area where, and that's not on Kid, but that is the one area where it's like, how prepared were you going into the game yesterday? Was it felt like it was almost a vendetta for Luka. Like he was, I've got to do this. This has got to be me because I got to take down the Clippers.
I don't know. I don't know. I know they got their ass whipped, and I love Richard Jefferson afterwards. I'm being sarcastic. He's like, Mavs are in the better position here because the team that loses, they make the adjustments.
No, yeah.
The team that wins, they're going to kind of keep it the same.
Yeah, everybody loves being down 1-0 in a series.
Very John Smoltz take if you're a Clippers fan. You're going, why are you Smoltzing us here, Richard Jefferson?
Very Reggie Miller, who, I can't remember what game it was. I don't know whether it was the Mavs, but it was at the end of the regular season, and he was talking about someone missing a free throw to make it a 4-point game. He's like, this is what players talk about on the bus. They talk about missing this free throw here. I'm like, Reggie, you make it from 3 to 4, game's over. And he's like, no, this is what people talk about. And then Richard Jefferson, who I didn't have a problem with throughout the entire game, he goes, yeah, Mavs, they got the advantage because they're going to make the adjustments. Clippers are going to keep it the same. I'm like,